Hi, Aarti.
Hey Hema.
Thank you for being here and willing to share your story about living with an alcoholic partner. And I'm so sorry for your loss. I know he passed away. Um, so thank you for being here and sharing your story.
Thanks, Hema. Thank you for, having this platform available for people to really talk about things that have happened in their lives. Uh, yeah, these stories need to come out, I guess. Yeah.
So to start off, could you begin by telling us a little bit about yourself and your life and your story before this chapter began with alcoholism?
Um, Hema, was a very typical, normal life. So
Mm,
it was navigating work, raising my daughter,
mm,
and just the usual ups and downs that you have in life.
mm,
I really didn't think my life was any different from uh, anybody else. You speak to your colleagues, you talk to them in terms of what's happening at home. Uh, our fights seemed normal, the problems that we were facing seemed normal, the joys seemed normal. So I didn't really see anything at that time which was alarming or which seemed different from what was the ordinary.
mm.
So I guess we were just living life the way everybody does.
Yeah, and what did that normalcy mean to you? Did you know that everything was normal then, or uh,
So in retrospect,
yeah?
I think there were signs.
Mm,
Um, and some of these signs I think I chose to ignore because they didn't meet my expectation of
mm,
what life would look like.
mm,
And some of it was also because uh, I didn't really know what to watch out for in terms of alcoholism. So, we've all, I think most of us have been brought up on the stereotypical alcoholic person who's weaving in drunk, who's slurring, who's, not really making sense or has horrible temper tantrums and is very contrite about it the next day. My life was not like that at all. So my husband was a fully functioning alcoholic,
mm,
uh, which meant that they looked the way it did. He got up, he went to work, we came back, we had dinner, we had all the normal conversations. So
mm,
there was nothing really that one could look at and say, oh, these were really the warning signs, because I don't think any of us know what those warning signs
mm,
are. It's not like what you see on TV or in the movies at all. And in retrospect, I think I didn't know what to watch out for.
yeah. And when did you start noticing these signs? And
So,
when did you think that normalcy was being
so
disrupted?
the alcohol was, I would not say was a big problem. Of course,
Mm,
he did drink, and at times he drank more than he should.
mm,
Uh, uh, but these, to my mind, were more social occasions, and we would have
mm,
conversations around them, and I would tell him, "Hey, I think you had like loads to drink the other day. It's not that great." And and he would be like, "Yeah, I know, and I'm gonna try and control it,"
mm,
and things like that.
mm,
So there was nothing which was happening, or other changes which happened in our relationship was so gradual
mm,
that it was very different. It was very difficult to say, okay, at this point, this is when I realized, or this is where the game changed. It's almost like that frog analogy that you hear, where the
mm,
water is heating and the frog just keeps adjusting till the
mm.
time that the water is so hot that
Yeah.
now you realize that, oh my God, what has happened?
Mm,
So I think that's what our life was like. So
mm,
the way he changed was so tiny.
mm,
It was not a dramatic change that
mm,
that we didn't notice it. It's only in hindsight that I realized that, oh my God,
mm,
we've literally been walking on eggshells around him. His temper would be very uneven. He would, lose his temper very quickly. But we'd gotten used to adjusting so much that we didn't even realize the huge adjustments that were made because they were happening slowly, little by little, almost on a daily basis.
Mm, mm,
So it wasn't dramatic at all.
mm,
When did I realize that we were actually battling alcoholism is when he started getting sick very often. It started with some sort of a stomach bug, and we would keep going to the gastro person, and he would not really be able to figure out what's wrong.
mm,
And it was he who gently introduced the conversation around alcoholism,
mm,
where he suggested that is there a possibility that this is alcoholism? And my first reaction was absolutely not. It
mm.
can't be.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think that's the time that he realized that it was not something that he's being able to cope up with. And he admitted that he did have an alcohol problem and he was seriously thinking of perhaps going to AAA
Mm.
and all of that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think the analogy you gave of the frog and making small, small changes over time that adds up to such a big change over time. And then that shock that you felt, was there a little bit of, can I say shock and maybe even denial? Because it came as a surprise?
Um, yes, today, it feels like this is something which was writing on the wall.
Yeah.
But Hima, that's what I'm trying to say, that for most of us, the way we think of alcoholism
Yeah.
is very inspired, at least for me, by what you see on TV or what
Mm,
you watch on movies, where somebody's drunk and they're not being able to get up, and you help them to their bed, and things like that. That was
mm,
not it at all.
mm,
Uh, if there was drinking, my sense of smell is horrible. So I
mm,
could smell alcohol on his breath. He was very functional. He was
mm,
normal as it goes. Today, I see that, okay, the fact that we never were able to have a huge amount of alcohol at home, it'll always it'll always empty up,
yeah.
is an indication that yes, perhaps I should have connected the dots.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is some amount of denial of
Mm,
there's some amount of discounting of
mm,
this feeling that something is not quite right, but not being able to put a finger on it
mm, mm,
and to say, yeah, this is what's wrong. And to bury that instinct and say, no, I think it's okay, and
mm,
there's something wrong, but not knowing quite
yeah.
what it is, and spending the time to figure that out. Yeah, that's something that I didn't do, and I realized that today,
Mm,
that I didn't do it. There
mm,
was some discomfort, and I
yeah.
wasn't able to,
Mm.
yeah, figure that
And
out.
yeah. And like you said, like what we understand about what alcoholism looks like is so much from the movies and TV shows, and there's a specific kind of image, and those are
Yes,
the signs that we kind of look for. And but what happens in reality is far different.
and I also, it's also something that you say, oh, this is something which happens to somebody
Yeah.
else. I never imagined that I
Mm,
would be the somebody else.
mm,
It never even occurred to me.
mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. So when you found out that this is happening in your life, in your story, what impact did it have on your own mental and emotional health over time?
Um, there was no time really to think about mental health when we faced up to the fact that it is alcoholism, and it required him also to admit it, and really talk about uh, the habit and how he's been struggling with it, and the
Mm,
amount that he's had to hide from from all of us.
Yeah.
Uh, and the fact that there was a huge road ahead
Mm,
in terms of beating this habit.
mm,
Um, I think at that point in time, emotional well being was not something that occurred to me at all. All that was happening for me right then is how do we beat this? How do we move forward?
mm,
What is to be done? So it was all about doing, getting something done, figuring this out. And I don't think I stopped and felt anything.
mm. So it was more about practically trying to solve.
Yes, it was just practically trying to solve all of it. At that moment, I don't think I understood the
Mm,
depth of the
mm,
problem. Uh, when the depth of the problem finally came alive for me,
mm,
there was this huge whirlwind of emotions. There was a huge amount of anger um, at myself.
mm,
How did I not see this at him? How could he allow it to happen
mm,
and get to this stage? Why did he not seek help earlier? What was wrong with him? What is wrong with me?
mm.
What is our marriage all about? If this is where we are, and he's not trusted me with it. What is wrong with me that I was not the one who's there for him?
Yeah.
There was a lot.
Mm. Yeah, it must have been so intense from the initial doctor's appointment and feeling a little bit of shock, and then diving straight into trying to figure out and navigate this whole thing, and then the overwhelm of
Yeah.
it
So
all
even
coming.
at that time, it was like, it's something that we can beat. I hadn't really uh, understood the depth of the problem and how difficult it's going
Mm,
to be to beat it. It was still at a very surface level. It's
mm,
only a few months, I
yeah.
think. It's very difficult to pinpoint and say, oh, this is how I felt at this time. But I think it was just a mixture of all of this
Mm,
that was happening. And we also had a young child. She was just into her teens. We both were very protective of her and didn't want her to really know what was happening.
mm,
So she knew, of course, that he was not well, but
mm,
I don't think we were ready at that point in time to have this conversation with her.
yeah.
I don't think we were ready to have this conversation with each other also. We
Mm,
were all about what do we do next?
mm,
Where and I think both of us went through this feeling of guilt, shame, humiliation. He thought he
yeah.
had it in control. I thought I knew him and this who is this person
Mm.
and what's wrong with me that he was not able to share this with me. So there was a lot. Yeah.
I see your voice cracking up, and this um is it difficult to revisit?
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm. Mm.
It's not an easy
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Mhm. And I see that it was challenging even with your own relationship with each other, and even understanding what the gravity of the situation and what was going on, and even your relationship with your daughter. Did you have any kind of support outside with family or friends, community?
Family, yes. Friends, I think there was just so much happening, Hima, in
Mm,
terms of the sheer amount of things that needed to get done, that there
mm,
was not so much time to really uh, bring people into this conversation.
yeah.
So it was a lot in terms of people who really needed to know that you needed to have this conversation with because of the
Mm,
sheer enormity of it and because of the need for doing this conversation. So family, yes, very much. Um, they were hugely supportive. I don't really think I reached out to any friends. A few of my colleagues knew about it because they needed to manage a few things because of the fact that, I was unavailable for a lot of time, or a lot of time I was sitting and working out of hospitals. So I wasn't able to take that many client calls. I was able to handle a lot of back-end things, but I wasn't able to get into client conversations, or I would have a specific window where I would be
Mm,
able to get into conversations. So it was, I think, very strictly on who needs to know just to manage the logistics of it.
mm,
Yeah, and people were very supportive. I think uh, I got a huge amount of support from colleagues, people that I worked with on a freelance basis also, were amazing. uh,
mm,
it was one of the organizations that I was working with. I had not really met the founder of the organization, but
mm,
she called me and she said, "You know what? We pay you X on every training basis, but we are happy to extend a credit of X lakhs
mm.
because this is what you make." It just surprised me that
Mhm.
people were so generous.
Yeah, that's good to know that people were caring and generous in their own way. Yeah.
Yes.
So, did you, and I'm glad that you had that kind of support from your family, and even if it was logistics, figuring it out, that makes a huge difference, I think, when you have to work from a hospital. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and but we were also talking earlier about the image that people have about alcoholism. Did that anyway come up in how you thought the outside world would perceive your relationships or your life?
Hima, looking back, I think from the time that we figured out that alcoholism was at the was the real root cause of
Mm,
his illness, coming to terms with it ourselves
mm,
first.
mm,
uh, there was so much going on within ourselves that the outside world
yeah.
just faded. it
Mm,
it wasn't there. It was not on my radar at all.
mm,
um, there were too many things to figure out at that point in
mm,
time.
yeah.
There were finances, there was our daughter, there was rehab, there was, I still needed to work. By then, he had to quit. So there were huge financial
Mm,
pressures. So the image that other people had for
mm,
us was not a consideration. It had no space. There was too
mm,
much happening.
yeah.
Yeah. There
Mm,
was just no space for it.
mm,
There were also AAA meetings that
mm,
we had started to go to. Um, there was some amount of Al-Anon meetings which happened for the family.
mm,
We were also trying to figure out how much should we tell
mm,
our daughter, whether we should tell her what the issue really is or just, glide over it.
mm,
Yeah, there was absolutely no time to think about what other people were thinking.
yeah. Mm, yeah.
Yeah,
There's so much on your mind already.
yeah, there was just too much going on.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So every day, just trying to figure out the logistics of all of this
yeah.
and making this work
Mm,
uh, itself was huge. We didn't really think he would need rehab. We thought it was
mm,
possible for him to kick the habit, but time showed us differently.
mm,
And yeah,
mm,
yeah.
mm. And may I ask when your partner passed away? How many years has it been?
He passed away in 2019.
Okay. Mm. So that's another added layer, grief
Yeah.
and navigating that as well internally within the family. Yeah.
Yeah, that was there, but even before that, I think we did get divorced before he passed away.
Mm,
He divorced in 2017,
mm,
and then 2 years later he passed away.
Mm.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So there was a lot going on for you with alcoholism and the divorce and your child and your work and yeah.
yeah. There was a lot going on. So when we actually the when he went into rehab,
Mm.
uh, I think that's where the guilt actually set in.
Mm.
Uh, because honestly, when he went to rehab,
Mm.
there was all this space where I didn't need to really do anything.
Mm.
So, what one fails to realize when one is living with an alcoholic
Mm.
partner, or anybody who is alcoholic in the family, is
Mm.
that the urge to drink is really high with them, and they turn into people that you don't recognize. They're not
Mm.
them anymore. Uh, so, an alcoholic will do whatever it takes to get that drink.
Mm.
What it meant for me is then I had to be super vigilant. I was no
Mm.
longer a wife. I'd
Mm.
become more of a watchdog, a caregiver, uh, and literally policing somebody
Mm.
24 by 7 is 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 huge. We don't realize that it's not so ensuring that he's not able to get his hand on
Mm.
money. If I go for a bath, I
Mm.
don't know whether when I come out whether he's going to be there or not. He would have taken the car and he would have zipped off to the
Mm.
nearest store to
Mm.
get his fix. So yeah, it was crazy,
Yeah.
and because of all of the consumption of alcohol, it becomes very difficult for them to eat.
Mm.
So food, so so imagine that you're living in a house where somebody is just not eating anything for
Yeah.
2 days, 3 days. There is a huge guilt when you put anything in your mouth.
Mm.
There
Yeah.
is no way of waking them up to get them to eat because they simply can't. They've
Mm.
they've had their fix, and this is not a person that you know.
Mm.
Uh, Suddenly things would go wrong, and then he would have called an ambulance. We wouldn't even know
Oh.
that he's
Mm.
called for an ambulance. You just hear the ambulance outside, and then you realize it's for somebody in your house.
Mm.
There has been a time when I've taken my dog out for a walk
Mm.
and I've come back to find that he's not there.
Mm.
He's called for the ambulance during that time and he's gone before I've come home. So I've come home and not found him and not known where he is.
Mm.
And then I get a call from the hospital saying that he's admitted into emergency. So it was a crazy time. So there's a huge amount of anger.
Mm.
How can you do this? What's wrong with you? So while there is this feeling of saying that I know that alcoholism is a disease,
Mm.
it's a fact that it was a fact,
Mm.
but it's not something that is easy to accept
Yeah.
emotionally because you're living with the actions of alcohol on a daily basis.
Mm.
When he went to rehab, there was the sudden peace. There was nothing happening at home. There was no emergency. It was just quiet.
Mm.
And I think that brought in so much of guilt to say
Mm.
that, I'm actually glad that he's not at home because I don't have to deal with this.
Mm.
It was horrible to feel the way I did.
Yeah. I from what you've shared, I heard that your sense of identity also changed alongside what choices he was making, and your roles, responsibilities, everything changed. Um, and then there was that normalcy that you mentioned earlier. That was every day was something new, and that normalcy was disrupted. And then having that peace, did that feel like some kind of
And also the feeling of who's this person? I don't know him.
mm,
This is not the man I married. This is not the man I knew. who is this? Because it was a complete Jekyll and Hyde situation. So when he was not drinking, when he was himself, he was so different
Mm,
from when he was drinking. So it was like two complete different
mm,
personalities.
yeah, yeah. So there's what you went into it with a lot of hopes and dreams. It was kind of so different from all of that, from all of your expectations.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. How do you make sense of all of that right now with distance and time? What are you still holding? What are you
Can
what
you
was been
pause for a second?
yes, sure. Mhm.
I'm just thinking that I don't know. The kind of person he was before alcoholism and after alcoholism, it's like I said, Jekyll and Hyde.
Mm,
Very different after alcoholism and after drinking.
mm,
And before he was generous to a fault.
mm,
Um, One of those pretty happy-go-lucky, uh, loved his Santa and Banta jokes.
mhm,
And I remember there would be conversations he'd have with my siblings where he would send them songs, and they were
mm,
great friends on Facebook, and they would have these long conversations. And half these conversations I wouldn't be aware of also.
yeah.
He was he was really he was a really nice, he was a gentle human being.
Mm,
Um, you could depend on him.
mm,
Yeah, he changed so much
mm,
after alcoholism became, a crutch for him.
mm,
And like I said, his temper started to really go up. He
mm,
was erratic in terms of his behavior. Something which amused him earlier, he would get angry with.
mm,
So one never knew how he's going to react.
mm,
So that's why it felt like eggshells around him in the house.
mm,
But those changes were very, very infinitesimal. It didn't come onto the radar
mm,
till very late.
mm,
So alcoholism completely changed his personality.
mm. Yeah. So, before his passing, even there was a grief for the person he was and the change that came with it. Yeah. Mm. How do you think you have changed throughout this journey?
I think it's a mixture.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so this journey saw me beating myself quite a bit to say that there were so many signs and how come I missed all of it, and the state of denial
Mm-hmm.
that I was in.
Yeah.
It also made me question myself as a partner, saying that
Mm-hmm.
um, how much of me was really in this relationship if I didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some of the questions that sometimes I still sit with.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel that this journey has given me an insight into a lot of other people as well. That people really aren't as judgy as you would want to believe they are. Most of them are just,
Mm-hmm.
living their lives, and where possible, most of them would like to lend a hand and be of use. It's just that one needs to ask. I
Mm,
think a lot of time I was so wrapped up in what was happening that it didn't even occur to me to reach
mm,
out and ask for help.
right.
And when help was offered, I was very shocked and pleasantly so, but still shocked that, oh my God, that someone could be that generous.
Mm,
Uh, Also makes me feel that, yeah, I'm resilient. I mean, I can survive a
yeah.
lot. Yeah,
And I think
yeah,
you coming here and speaking about your story says a lot, and it sheds light on what you were talking at the very beginning about what happens in reality and what is actually portrayed in films and TV and what we think alcoholism is like. So thank
yeah,
you for coming here
yeah.
and sharing us that story. Yeah.
So my wish really, him is that if somebody had, maybe if there is some way in which, people can watch out
Yeah.
these little changes, that it's not as
Mm,
dramatic. I think it would help a lot because
mm,
this is what we see and this is what we hear. Most of us are not reading enough
mm,
because we don't think this is going to happen to us. It's
mm,
it's like watching a gangster movie, right? Where somebody is murdered. You're watching it for entertainment. You never think that that's something that's
mm,
going to happen to you. So we're not looking at the laws and we're not reading that up and we don't know what our rights are. Exactly like this, I think alcohol abuse, drug abuse, we
mm.
don't know enough. We don't know
Yeah.
what signs to watch out for.
Mm, mm.
That if I think if someone simplifies it and says,
Yeah.
hey, is this happening? Maybe that
Yeah.
could have helped us uh,
Mm,
figure this out much earlier than we did, and
mm,
perhaps the outcome would have been different.
mm, mm. Yeah, so more awareness, more education, and less stigma around all of this.
Yes, yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes to all of that.
Thank you so much, Aarti. Would you like to say something else before we close?
No, Emma, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much.
I didn't know how coherent I was, but
Oh,
hope you get something out of it.
I think you're very articulate and very courageous to come here and speak. Thank you. Mhm.
Thank you.